Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Hey, whenever you're listening to this show, welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast. Dennis, Alan, and Bill here bringing you some more excitement and a great guest today. So today's guest is Robert Richardson. He is the founder of Squib Kick Records, and he's going to be talking about Squib Kick Records and some of the artists they have on that label. And we're going to do a little review of the Dirt. That seems to be a very hot topic. And then for right now, we're going to do our normal, usual stuff. So let's see. I bought REO Speedwagon tickets.
You did?
Did.
That's fucking awesome. I love those guys.
Going to be at the lawn, and it's them and Sister Hazel, who I really like.
Hey, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yes.
Is your Oreo Speedwagons the regular ones or the double stuffed?
Double stuffed Oreo Speedwagons.
So this is at Whitewater, you said?
White River.
Or White River.
Yeah, if it turns into white water, I ain't going.
I know. When is this show?
Some crazy shit in the water.
When is this show, though? Seriously.
I don't know, it's like June 11th or something like that. It's a Tuesday night.
Oh, let's see. I can't do that. Let's see.
We're going with
you guys suck.
Well, it's not my fault. You live up there.
I know.
You chose to
live down here. Yeah, you live up there.
I live down there. I chose to live up here. Anyway,
I love REO. I like to see them every year. They're a great band. Like I said, they play every song they play. You know what they're playing. You can sing along with it, and it's fucking fun.
It was kind of fun. I asked Lisa if she wanted to go. It's one of her favorite bands, and she was like, "Well, no, not really." Then we heard REO song on the radio.
How many times have you seen REO?
I've seen them, I think, 3 times or 3 times. She's seen them 4 or 5. She's seen them more than I have.
My next question is: has it been the same 16 songs every time?
I don't remember because haven't seen them 43 times. I've seen them like 4.
I've actually seen REO probably more than I have Kiss, to be honest. I think
that's sad. It's sad. It's a sad.
Well, no, because they came every year and Kiss didn't come every year. So there you go.
They're like Santa Claus.
My town.
They're like Dennis.
No shit. Oh.
Sorry.
Oh. Ouch.
Okay.
Ouch.
Where's the rim shot? Can you throw that in there?
Well, that requires effort, and by the time I put this together, I will have forgotten.
There's no shot.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. All right. So anyway, I don't know. Is there any big news this week other than the Dirt came out? Everybody and their brother has watched it, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
And chimed in. For sure.
There was something I was going to bring up, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, you've been toying with us about some big surprise.
Yes, I got a surprise for you. Oh, well, we can talk about the Rockin Pod. Today they had a announcement for a new one of their, not new, but the newest person that's going to be a guest. Another guest. And it's going to be a good one. Somebody we've tried to get on this show for a few times. And I think that we'll probably get him on that day. But it is Michael Sweet from Striper.
Or as they kept saying on one of those threads today, Striker.
I know. So I'm literally looking forward to meeting him. And like I said, all 3 of us went to Louisville, last year?
That's been about 2 years ago,
It's been about 2 years ago.
Has it been 2 years ago? Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, you're old. You forget.
We were at the Mercury Ballroom. We went and seen that show. That was a really good show, though.
It was a good show.
That is correct.
That's when the entire original band was still together.
Yep.
and then Ox is back, I guess, but then the bass player is gone, and they got a new bass player. So we'll go from there. But it'll be nice to talk to Michael and everything. So
it'd be cool. He's a cool guy. I follow him on Twitter and.
Yeah,
he seems to be pretty cool.
I tell you what, and the thing is, and we'll talk about this when we talk to him. I do like Striper stuff. I do. My favorite album is Against the Law, or I think that's probably their best album that they got. But they've done some cover tunes, some of their cover stuff is some of the best cover. About the same as Torque. I think it's the same as Took. Took does the same as far as cover tunes for Canadian bands as what Stryper has done for American bands. I mean, they're dead on and they're really good. And
they should do a tour together.
They should do it. It would be awesome.
Awesome. It would be awesome. I'm like, sign me up. I'm going to that
show. I guarantee it. We'd be all over that. So anyway, here's my announcement for the week. All right. Are you ready for this? Oh shit. I got a video popping up. It's not porn either. Imagine that. Hold on. I gotta pull something up. Keep talking amongst yourselves for a second.
Well, how about this while you're looking that up?
Right.
Shoutouts.
Oh yeah.
By Alan.
Shoutouts by Alan Tate.
And since I'm an idiot and haven't done shoutouts for the past couple of weeks, I have episodes 159 and episode 160 shoutouts here. So on Facebook, we've got Greg Mangus, Steve Wright, Bill Elam, David Cathy, Brian Harris, Greg Troyan II, Wesley Harden, and Marshall Latimer. Latimer. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, we'll blame Dennis. On Twitter, we've got retweets from Hairnet Radio, David Cathy, Miles Standish, the I Love It Loud podcast, a.k.a. our good friend Peter Cecere, a Twitter handle by the name of ALU, and finally, Sonny Hollywood Pooney. Thank you all for your shout-outs and your retweets. We really appreciate your support.
Well, thank you, Sonny. We appreciate that. That's awesome.
We appreciate all of our
retweets. Yeah, so I hope we see those guys at the Rockin Pod. I hope a lot of those people show up. I know this year's going to be a little bit. Everybody's went and done a lot of. I think the Kiss shows are killing a lot of these people as far as their I saw where Joe Polo is in Madison Square Garden or up in New York tonight. Yeah. I think Julian's in New York this week. I mean, there's a bunch of people seeing that Madison Square Garden show. So
yeah, I'll be in New York on Saturday.
In that shit.
Missed it by that much.
Exactly right. Yeah, when I saw that date, I was like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!" But yeah.
All right. So here we go.
Oh well, that's the way it is. Okay. Big news.
My surprise. My big news. Thanks to my friend David Cathy, I am going to the Nashville Kiss show. I got tickets to another Kiss show. Surprise. Ta-da! Boom, 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 boom. No, no. Wow. David had a friend that had 2 tickets, and they were trying to get rid of them. I had mentioned earlier that my wife wanted to see it in an arena situation. She is going to go with me to Rue Hall or wherever it is up in Indianapolis.
Ruoff Homes.
There you go. I can't.
Rue Hall.
I'm just going to say Deer Creek from now.
You can say Deer Creek. It's
Deer Creek. Everybody knows it's Deer Creek. But anyway, after seeing the stuff from Louisville, she was like, I wish I could see it in a situation like that. I did go online. The aftermarket tickets are just unbelievable. That show is sold out. David Cathy had a friend that had 2 tickets and sold them to me at, I guess, regular price. And so I'm sitting in actually section 119, row B, which is there's a double A through double F, and then there's A, B. So I'm just kind of a little bit up on the corner looking at the stage. So Kelly and I will be going down, and I took off the next day, which is Wednesday.
You did not.
So Wednesday,
he couldn't stand that I had those 2 days off, so he's going to follow me and Laura around Nashville.
You know what's going to happen is actually Kelly has to work the next morning, so we're driving home that night. I'm sleeping in. She's going to be going to work the next day, but I'm actually off Thursday and Friday also of that week because they're shutting our part of it. They're doing some major construction at our job, so they're giving us the option to either take off or come in and wear a hard hat and do nothing. So I'm gonna stay home, work around the yard, and do something.
Why not? I don't blame you.
So anyway, but I am going. So for a guy who was not going to see one show, I am now. This is going to be my second show of 3 so far. So anyway,
Cool.
Anyway, taking
All
Kelly.
All right, here we go. You guys ready?
Sure.
All right,
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Richard, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. So with us tonight is Richard from Squib Kick Records. Can you tell us a little bit about Squib Kick Records?
Well, yeah, sure. I started the label. I had the label idea back in like 2016, and I decided to go ahead and put something together where I thought that I could promote some of my own music. That was initially the plan, was to go ahead and kind of use it as an engine to drive what I wanted to do musically. Because I grew up, I used to be in hard rock bands and stuff like that, and it was always fun. And I kind of missed playing and recording stuff. So that was my goal initially. And then I started working with a couple other bands and kind of pushed all my stuff to the side. And so now it's just kind of a situation where I'm trying to get right now the label's kind of part-time, and I'd love for it to be full-time, but unfortunately with the way the music business is, and you're competing in a huge world of so many bands and labels and things like that, it's something that I eventually want to get into full-time. But I missed that old classic hard rock sound. I'm a huge Kiss fan. Grew up being a big Kiss fan. Bands like, Mötley Crüe, AC/DC, Joan Jett, The Sweet. I like a whole variety of stuff. And I wanted to kind of bring that type of music back into the fold. And I know there's other bands and labels that do that kind of stuff, and that's great. And I'd like to see a resurgence kind of in the old classic hard rock scene. And so it was just my idea to kind of put the label together and get some local bands that I felt like had something to offer, and that's kind of where I've taken it so far. We haven't had that many releases, and like I said, we've only had the doors open. So the first release was actually July 4th of 2017, and so we've only released a handful of things, in that time.
So who was that? Who was the first band? Was that Was a Boom? Is that who that was?
Yeah, it's a band called Who's a Boom. Yeah,
oh, Who's a Boom? Sorry,
Who's a Boom, and they're kind of we're working with them right now. As a matter of fact, recording an EP. They're looking to have about 5 or 6 songs finished up here shortly. We got to get back in and do some recording of the vocals and stuff. But they're kind of it's kind of funny. They kind of have a little bit of a bubblegum sound, that 70s bubblegum sound, but at the same time, you definitely hear some pop and some hard rock mixed with, believe it or not, there's even some like electronic dance type stuff in there. So it's a real, I like to call it a circus of sounds. It's kind of anything goes, and they're probably the most diverse and different band, and what the rest of the label kind of does. That's kind of like the black sheep of the family, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but it's good to have some variety, right? I mean, you don't want everybody to sound the same, because then it's like
right.
Yeah, for sure. So you said they were all local? So local to where?
Local to the North Carolina area. Yeah,
okay.
they're just some local North Carolina bands. And here's the thing, a lot of the bands, well, actually all the bands that I'm currently working with, they're not overly big, like they're not huge national touring bands or anything like that. They're just small local bands. They play shows once in a while. It's almost kind of like my way to promote some of the local scene and help out some people and try and get some music out there. A couple of the bands, as a matter of fact, like the Bad Somethings and Atomic Lip Balm, some other bands I'm sure we'll talk about, just studio, they're more or less just studio projects. And the guys play out once in a while, but they don't do it frequently. And, that's kind of how everything has gone so far.
Cool. Hey, Richard, what is your expertise? I mean, where are you coming from? I know you wanted to start this, and you said you wanted this to be something that you did full time. What is your background in music, and how did you get to this point?
Well, as far as my background in music, I just started like any typical teenage kid. I when I was 13, I got into playing the drums and kind of followed that all through the 80s and joined bands in the late 80s, right before the scene changed. I started getting into bands, so it was like totally the wrong time to be a drummer in a hard rock band. And then I had to suffer through the 90s, unfortunately. But in the meantime, as far as between just playing in bands and stuff like that, I worked for Capitol Records for a while. They had a distribution center in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and I worked with them. And I got to get in and learn a few different things with the distribution center. So I was able to be surrounded by music a lot. So not only was I playing in a band, but I was working for a record company and trying to submit songs and do things like that, on my own, kind of sneak them in the back door, so to say. And I know one time the guys from Slaughter came into where we worked, and it's really funny how rock stars, at the time, don't realize the way then people that work 9 to 5, they don't understand a lot of that stuff. And some guys are pushing a pallet jack around, trying to, move some skids around. And Dana, I believe it was Dana Strum, asked them, they said, do you use that for your work? And they had to kind of show them how you use the pallet jack, and you pick up a pallet and move it out of the way. And he had no idea. He was like, that's, God, he just didn't get it. It was funny. They're kind of on a different, at that time, they were on a different level than the normal, 9 to 5 people.
Because a union guy would have moved all their stuff anyway,
Right.
Because they never really touched their stuff. I mean, they were not allowed to, actually. So,
right.
Or they didn't have jobs. They didn't have all those kind of jobs. They went from high school to playing in bands, and then they didn't have jobs in factories or in places like that. So, yeah, that's
right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But so really, other than the fact that, I at one time had worked for Capitol Records and playing in my own bands, I'm starting this just on a whim, just saying I can do this. With the way social media is, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to kind of get out and, put out some music and hopefully have people take an interest. And for me right now, with it just being part-time, it's more a labor of love. I just like doing it because I like being involved in the music and recording stuff and doing some mixing and that type of stuff. I enjoy that part of it. And that kind of gives me, that's sort of my pastime, I guess, if you want to say, I work during the day, and then I've got my weekends and nights and stuff filled with doing different music stuff.
So you talked about a studio. So do you have a studio, or do you guys just rent space whenever you need to?
No, I do have a studio. We have a studio. I've got my garage is set up. I've got my own studio in the garage of my house. My wife and I just had a house built 2 years ago, and I had a studio built when we did that. And then I have a separate room for, kind of like an editing, listening type room in the house as well, where my office is and stuff.
Well, that's pretty convenient.
Studio. Yeah, it's an in-house studio. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's what's convenient about having some of the bands, some of the local bands come in and do recording, because I already have the studio here, and we kind of work out deals where it's like, they want to put out material, and they'll come to the studio and we'll record an album and stuff like that. But I don't give them guarantees like, I'm not going to put them on tour, or there's not a big budget for me and my side. I'm not able to offer them a lot of money, but it's kind of the object. Look, we'll let you use the studio and record, we'll mix it up, we'll release it, and we'll see how it does. And then it's just kind of a building process. From there, we try to help build their name and get a little more popularity out of them. And then kind of see where it goes. It's just kind of, like I said, it's more a labor of love than it is for any kind of money type thing at this point.
And plus too, Richard, it gives you opportunity to mix, help, whenever these people are recording, you're learning to mix and
oh yeah,
do all this other stuff. So it's kind of it's a not only you helping them, they're helping you,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a good deal.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to ask, you want to talk about some of the other acts on your label?
Yeah, that's fine. We have a band called Atomic Lip Balm, and that was kind of I'm sure you guys have heard the band Steel Panther. And these guys are kind of, I don't want to say kind of along that lines, but they're like an 80s hair metal glam style band, kind of Mötley Crüe meets Pretty Boy Floyd type thing. And they, the music, what can I say? We released a single by them called Blow It Up in 2017. Or was it 2018? I'm not sure. Anyway, we had released a single by Atomic Lip Balm, and they kind of promote that whole glam scene type thing. We did an album by the Bad Somethings last year, and that one's getting pretty good response. We released that back in October, and we've had a write-up in Classic Rock magazine. We've been in Fireworks magazines. We've had quite a few reviews, and things have been going well for that band. They have a real Kiss style. They have that 70s kind of rock sound. And then lastly, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And then lastly, I do have a project that I want to do on my own. And I've only kind of had time to do some demos and stuff like that, but it's going to be called Rich Kid Express. And it's going to kind of be along the same lines. It's going to be kind of a 70s, 80s classic hard rock type thing. But, in and amongst working with the other guys, I haven't had a lot of time to do my own stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. The on the website, the description of Atomic Lip Balm says, when you need that fix of sleazy, down and dirty pop metal goodness, Atomic Lip Balm does the trick.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, it's kind of a joke with the name, because, when everybody hears lip balm, they think chapstick. And that was kind of the whole idea, was kind of just like, and that was kind of where they just took the name and wanted to be funny with it. And that was kind of cool.
Atomic Lip Balm, I get kind of a Van Halen-ish kind of, I guess, because atomic punk, kind of that
Atomic
thing.
punk,
but, that's cool though.
So did you talk about the Bad Somethings?
Yeah. I mentioned we released their album back in October.
Yeah.
And like I said, it had some write-ups in Classic Rock magazine and Fireworks, and included, I know, on the magazines, they include CDs with their magazines. It's funny because Classic Rock hit us up about putting one of their songs on the CD that they include with the magazine, and we thought, oh, that'll be fantastic promotion. But the problem is, and I don't understand totally behind it, but they wouldn't accept the song because we're affiliated with ASCAP here in America, and I don't know whether they want the songs for free or if they don't want to pay any royalties towards something like that. But we were all excited because we thought we're going to get a lot of promotion from that subscription. The CD's going out to all those people, and everybody's going to get to hear it. And then, so what we've talked with them about is possibly in the future, because they were interested, is recording like a one-off song that we'll give to them and they can use exclusively for the CD, and we won't put that, like, say, on an album, type thing. And that way we can do a video for it, release it as a single, but it won't actually be registered with ASCAP. The guys are willing to kind of do that just for the publicity and the promotion,
Sure.
So we give it to Classic Rock and just kind of let them have it as their song.
Yeah,
Now,
that's a good record too.
Is that something that if you give it to Classic Rock, they just give it away and nobody gets any money out of it, or do they sell the CD and kind of divvy it up between the bands?
No, they don't sell the CD. The CD comes on the front cover of the magazine or inside the magazine. It's already there. And so if you subscribe and you buy the magazine, because it's usually in plastic, the CDs are comes.
It's like
with
a bonus.
the
It's like a bonus thing
so
for the magazine.
If you pay $15 for the magazine or whatever, you're getting a 15-song CD with it.
Well, that's not bad.
And so that's kind of. So we're kind of working on that and hoping that works out in the future. I know the Bad Somethings come back in the studio in the summer, and we're going to do their second album. And we're going to try to promote that ahead of time by getting something to classic rock. So maybe they can get a song out, and that kind of is a prelude to the next album,
Right. Yeah, that'd be cool. That's a good record. I listened to that record today, actually.
Oh, thanks.
At work between meetings. I meant to listen to it before, and I downloaded it, and it got lost in my list of stuff. And I'm like, man, I got to listen to that before. But it's really good. I mean, I got through all of it at least once. So I was pretty impressed. I mean, it's good stuff. I really didn't find a song on there I didn't like, so it's pretty good.
Well, thank you.
That's good for Bill, because Bill will. If Bill doesn't like the first song,
if I don't like the first song, it's over.
Yeah,
you got to hook me at one, and if you don't hook me at one, it's over.
Well, they've got a very Kiss feel to them, and that was the first thing that caught my eye, or my ear, I should say, about them, because that's totally I'm so totally into like 70s era Kiss, and when I heard them play, I was kind of impressed with that, and I know the first song on the CD is Yeah Yeah Yeah, and that kind of gives me that old like All American Man vibe from Kiss kind of thing. That's kind of just what it feels like.
Yeah, but it wasn't like it didn't sound like everybody else. I thought it had a little bit of a different sound, and I thought it was good. I mean, it was really good. I look forward to listening to it again, because like I said, I didn't get through the whole thing, so I got to spend a little time. I got through the whole thing, but in the middle of doing work too, so I was listening to it, but fortunately had to shuffle papers.
So Rich, here's a question for you. You don't have to, like I say, you don't have to name names or point anybody out, but you say that you have an ear for this thing, and you like to promote people that are have that kind of Kiss-esque, or things that you liked as a kid and whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Have you had to help record stuff that you don't really get into? You know what I'm saying?
No. Not really.
Right.
No, I was gonna say not really at this point, because I'm kind of pursuing.
He's the boss.
I kind of was pursuing the bands.
Right.
And, it was kind of a situation where I was pulling in people that I'm trying to find the style that I like, and I'll go out and look for the. It's almost like I'm working as my own A&R guy.
Well, that's a good deal, because, like I said, I didn't know, as you said, you had a studio. If you had a band that come in and said, hey, we want to record like an EP or something, can you help us out? And you do it. And then these guys come in, and it's like they're playing just shit you can't even stand to even listen to, much less. And then you're like trying to be nice and like going, well, okay, it sounds good if I'd like this shit, but you know what I'm
saying? Right.
But you're out. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish.
No, I'm saying, but you're actually going out and getting people that you're liking, and then helping these other people. Like I said, you're not like this.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. That's probably not a bad thing, because that way you don't have to listen to just crap.
This is a non-crap studio.
There's been many times, with other things, and that's the unfortunate, I guess, just the way that I am. But I've helped people try to do things before. It's kind of funny. You get involved in something, and when you realize you don't like it, then you want to back out of it, and you don't want to be part of it anymore. And it's not that you're a bad person and you want to give up doing something. It's just like you don't want to waste your time with it. So if your heart's not totally into it, it's hard to give it your all if you're not totally into something. So I wouldn't be interested in doing like, a country album, or I wouldn't be interested in doing, like a rap album or something like that, because that's just not the type of music that I normally would listen to. It has to be something that I like, because that's the only way I can stay interested in it.
Right. Exactly. So what kind of, you say your studio, are you running like Pro Tools? You doing is all digital? So what you're running?
Logic Pro.
Logic Pro.
I use Logic.
Okay.
And then I've got an audience, like an audience console, and it's not anything big. It's not anything super major. It's just, there's several few $1,000s worth of equipment in there, and it's just something that I'm kind of building slowly, a little bit at a time.
Well, Alan and I both. I mean, we've got we've got the stuff to record. Actually, Alan does record stuff. I've bought the stuff. I just never got it hooked up to do anything with it.
Yeah.
But as far as like, how many channels? I mean, can you run like that on your? I don't know how that runs on there because I don't even use
On the
Pro Tools.
Oh, okay. Well, now as far as like the running in Logic, I could put. I mean, I can have endless amount of tracks. It just
Infinite.
up until
Okay.
my computer decides it's too many.
Gotcha.
I think that's about how
But
most people that record today. It's however many tracks their CPU can handle.
exactly, yeah. But
Yeah, I was used to
uh,
using a Tascam little 8-track, or actually it was a 16-track is what I had, little one all in one unit. And you could move stuff around and do little stuff with it. But now, like I said, I got to where I can do it on my Mac, but I just never got smart enough to use it. Alan was
yeah,
supposed to come over and help me, and he actually came over one time and showed me how to do it, and then I forgot.
And then he went to sleep and forgot it all.
I did. I told him, I said, next time you come over, I'm actually going to I'm going to videotape you showing me how to use this, so I don't forget it next time.
yeah.
But that's
And
awesome.
it's great. It's great working digital as far as that goes, because analog and tape. If you want to keep let's just say it's easier to edit with all that sort of stuff. You don't have to cut tape and move tape and do all that sort of stuff. It's so easy to click and paste and move and that type of stuff on the screen, and kind of so much easier to work with the sound, if that makes any sense.
Right. So once you get these people recorded, so let's talk about
Hmm.
the other side of it as far as getting the stuff out. What is your major mode of how do you do this? I mean, because like I said, it used to be, you had a record company had their own distribution center. They were
Hmm.
set up to do all this. So as an
Right.
individual, how do you go about getting this stuff out? Say you
Well,
do
right
this
now,
recording, you've done like the new best album ever. How do you get it out?
well, and to be honest with you, we'll go through, like I'll use right now we're only digital. So we'll put that out right away. We're only a digital company at the moment. You know, we feel like if there's a need for a physical CD, and I know that there's people that love to, be able to open up a CD and still smell that plastic. I used to love getting cassettes when I was a kid, and you opened it up and it's just got that certain smell to it. And so I know that people want the physical stuff, but for cost efficiency and for the ease of distribution, we do everything digitally right now. And we'll work through a company like CD Baby, and we'll have them distribute to all the different outlets that they distribute through. And that's kind of where we do the distribution of the music. And then I spend my time kind of working as like a promotions company, and I will go around and I do a lot of social media as far as finding companies, that magazines, radio, just wherever I can kind of put a plug in for the band. And it's sort of like you throw things out there and just see who bites on stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't have this plan of I don't have a lot of contacts, I should say. So I don't have this great big grand scheme of I'm going to get this to all these people. I'm just going to do my best to get it out and see where we can land it. And that was kind of the way it was with the Bad Somethings. We tried to promote a little bit online about their CD coming out, and then through Facebook and different Facebook groups and Instagram and Twitter and all that. And there's so many outlets and avenues to be able to promote your stuff. Um, that's kind of what we're doing. And we are, like, the Bad Somethings got hooked up with a promotions company out of England called Two Side Moon Promotions. And so they were helping to get us into different magazines. We had a review like in Power Play magazine, and we got into some other magazines. So it was just a matter of trying to get the band out there. And I tell the guys, when we record this stuff, basically I'm giving you the studio time to go ahead and record it. We'll just kind of see where it goes. And if these guys, are just more or less studio musicians, or it's like a recording project, they're not doing it for money. So it's kind of like they're doing it just to get their music out there and to self-satisfaction for themselves. So we'll just kind of get it out where we can, and without spending too much money, arm and a leg here and there, trying to use big professional companies, if that makes sense.
So you got people basically doing it as a hobby just to get their music out, and then you got your people that come in that want to actually put something out, and let's try to make something of themselves.
Yeah.
So that's where you got to look at it, like you're saying. Some people, it's like we're just glad to have it recorded.
Right, yeah.
But like I said, if somebody came in and said, like, okay, we've got the greatest thing, next, since sliced toast, or sliced bread, here's our thing. What do you mean, Bill? Right. I don't see you shaking your head.
You just screw up. It's like I'm trying to be clever, but I can't do it. It's not possible.
Well, I see. I'm not clever.
So pepperoni.
Sliced Betty White.
Sliced Betty White.
But anyway, but he knows what I mean. But anyway,
yeah.
So you like say you go at it 2 different ways. So that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience?
And
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, and as far as making contacts and things like that, with every release that we put out, initially we put out 3 singles first before we did the Bad Somethings album, and with each release, I've been able to make contact with more people, and so it's just a list that eventually grows, and now I've got a list of like 300-400 people that when we're getting ready to do an album, I can send it to those people right away to kind of preview it, and that's how we can get our reviews written or get spots on the radio and that type of stuff. And I mean, internet radio has been really good to us. Getting on actual commercial radio is really hard. And I'll be honest with you, unless you're a label with big money or, you've got big advertisers backing you, I don't know how people make it in today's music world and get on, public radio. But the internet radio stations have been fantastic to us, and we've submitted stuff and have gotten a lot of airplay that way. So, it's baby steps. It's kind of a little bit here and there. And with each release, we get more contacts and we've got more people to send stuff to. And now I've got people that email me asking, when's the next Squib Kick Records release going to come out, or what is it going to be? And so that's always good because now people are looking towards the label for just different things,
Cool. Yeah, that's got to be, that is a challenge. I mean, we've had other people on the show that have talked about, it's just so difficult anymore. I mean, even if you're a label with money, the radio's not playing this kind of music anymore. I mean, you can't find it. I mean, there's no, I was looking at in Indianapolis. I get Indianapolis radio stations. We used to get good Lord, an indie radio station, and that played not, I guess, indie music, whatever. And, that station's gone now. You can't even get any of that stuff. And they, they're just, so we have a classic rock station and that's all they're playing. They're not playing anything new. So finding that stuff is bad. So, you do have to turn to internet radio. I mean, and I really didn't know much about internet radio till within the last probably year. We've had a couple people on the show that have shows, and that's made a big difference for me. And I found a couple of things I really kind of like. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff out there, but just getting the product out there to begin with at all is difficult.
Oh yeah.
I know, one of the things coming up for us is we have this Rockin Pod Expo that's coming up. I don't know if you've heard much about it, but if you guys get a chance,
I've heard bits and pieces about it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys had a chance to come over there and pass out cards and stuff like that, or something that's in Nashville, I mean, that'd be a great outlet. There's a lot of people there. There's going to be probably, I don't know about a lot, 300 or 400 people there. Hopefully that's the plan.
We'll even let you come hang out at our table.
Yeah, you can come hang out at the table, and we'll be glad to house you. And if some of the band want to come over, I mean, I think that's because last year there were different bands that were there that were just there to kind of start making round on the tables and stuff, and
right. Making
I think that's you never know. You never know who's going to get picked up by what, and what interview might get get the nod, and all of a sudden it's, people are calling you wanting stuff again, and that kind of, it's pretty cool. So that's something we've had fun with. It's kind of like this for us has kind of been what you were doing. I mean, what you're doing. This is really an outlet for us. It's just about having fun and hanging out and that kind of stuff. And it's not, we haven't made a dime. We've spent a few dimes. We spent some dimes. We haven't made a dime. And that was never the goal. I mean, the goal was never to make a dime. And actually in podcasting, unless you are huge, you're not making any money anyway, because there's just no money in it. So it's in it for just the fun. But you said you were a Kiss fan. So was that the first band that you really got into?
Well, yeah. When I say first band, I was an Elvis Presley fan when I was a little kid, because I don't know, that's kind of what my parents listened to. Sure. I mean, they were always listening to stuff in the 50s and 60s kind of stuff. And, which, I'm 50 years old myself right now. So, but anyway, so coming up through the 70s, I used to listen to like bubblegum rock and all that sort of stuff. But Elvis was like, I had several Elvis albums, and all of a sudden I went to my cousin's house, and, on their pool table, they had Alive 2 laid out with the gatefold sleeve opened up. And as soon as I heard Detroit Rock City, I was like, oh my gosh. I was just over. This is like Halloween and the 4th of July all on the same day. And I was so excited. And at that point, I just became a huge Kiss fan. And my grandmother bought me my first Kiss album, and then my parents got me another one. And so I had Kiss Alive 2 and then Kiss Alive 1. Those are my first two albums. Then, of course, I, started saving up money and buying everything in between. And, but ever since then, they got me started into liking the hard rock music and following different bands. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, the late 70s and all the way up till about 1992, I'm glad that I grew up in that time era, that era, because to me, that music was fantastic. And I'm starting to sound like my parents now, because I go, how do people listen to that stuff? I can't understand how people listen to what they listen to now. And, but, when you think about it and you try to get people like today's kids, I want to say kids because today's teenagers, in the 80s, I didn't want to listen to stuff that was popular in the 50s. So why would I think now that somebody would want to listen to something that was popular in the 80s? Does that make any sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, we try to promote the music. I want to promote the music that I like and hope that it reaches the right audience and the fans that are still out there. And, and that's kind of where we can get some new bands out there that like that genre of music, but anyway, I regress. I grew up all through the 80s and liked all the different types of 80s bands, and couldn't wait for Headbangers Ball to come on TV and all that good stuff. But so that's basically, Kiss got me started.
Well, there's still a lot of us out there yet. And like I said, there's every genre of music still has a bunch of people out there that are wanting to either buy the old material or hear new material that's, basically the same as what, I always look for that next band that kind of sounds kind of like the hair metal. Friend of mine, Amy sent me a thing today. There's a new band that she's like, you need to check these guys out. And they were the, let me pull up real quick. Crazy Licks, Lixx.
Oh yeah.
I've
heard of them. Yeah.
They're from Scandinavia. She said they kind of sound like Steel Panther, but they're not a parody. They're more of just an 80s kind of, and I listened to a little bit this afternoon. It's got that kind of 80s, I didn't really, the first 3 songs didn't hit me real hard, but they've got like 6 albums, so I got all kinds of material to listen to. But
I've got some of their stuff downloaded,
have you
as well.
Yeah, she loves them.
And the thing is, great. I don't know what it is about that part of the world, but it seems like Norway and Sweden and the Netherlands and that whole area, they're still into that music. That's still a big scene over there, or at least so it seems to be. And I don't know why. Even like in the UK, a lot of like the Bad Somethings and stuff, we're getting a lot of play over in the United Kingdom. where a lot of times, people in America don't pay any attention to it.
Well, you see a
And
lot
it's
of
weird
bands that we like that won't play in America very much, but they play over in Europe and these, like, say, Scandinavia, Sweden, these other, Norway. They'll go there and they'll pack the houses, but then they'll play in America and they can't even get like a theater filled. So they go where the money's at, and if these other countries are going to accept them and love them, so they go there, unfortunately.
And a lot of people want to say bad things about the band, like Greta Van Fleet. Personally, I was never a huge Zeppelin fan growing up. I do like their rock and stuff, but I'm not crazy about their kind of. Some of the stuff sounds a little reggae to me, and I don't get into that style stuff, but I like their rock stuff. But getting back to Greta Van Fleet, people want to say they're a second-rate band. Well, I'm like this. I think that if it's the second coming, or if it's a second-rate Led Zeppelin, what's wrong with that? Because if you like Zeppelin, you'd probably like what they're going to do. And if you have a band like Airborne, who might be, they're a second-rate AC/DC. Well, maybe they are, but they're filling the void because AC/DC is not going to be around forever. It's like if you listen to a band that reminds you of a band that you like, well, there's no reason why you shouldn't like their music. It's just kind of, I always laugh how people want to say this band is the best and this band is like the imposter kind of thing. To me, I like this. If I heard three other bands that played music similar to what they did, I would still like that, because that's the kind of music I'm into.
Well, and then giving Greta Van Fleet their due, Led Zeppelin doesn't play anymore. Led Zeppelin hasn't put out a new song since 1970,
1980 something, like 82.
82. Was it Coda was the last?
Something
was
like
the last
that,
one? So really they're not, and the thing is, Robert Plant wants nothing to do with a reunion. He's basically doing his own thing. So he's like, you know what? And the thing is, Led Zeppelin stole their music from the old blues guys. So they're not, they're not. Greta Van Fleet's not selling, not stealing anything. They got similar sound. And like I said, the funny thing about them is the first time I ever heard them was coming back from a gig. And I heard it on the radio, and I'm like listening to the song going, I've never heard this Zeppelin song in my life. And I'm listening, I swear to God, and I Shazammed it going, what is this song? What album is this off of? Because I know all their songs, and I don't know what, and all of a sudden it said Greta Van Fleet, and I'm like, what the fuck who the fuck's Greta? And then I was like going, holy shit. But, it fooled me. I was like going, this is an unheard Zeppelin song I've never heard before, so it was, they fooled me.
Well, let's face it, nowadays there really isn't anything that you can do that is original. And I'm not saying that, there's somebody out there going to come up with something that's just totally a different sound. I know that day's coming, but for the most part, 3/4 of the bands, nobody's original anymore. You're borrowing ideas from everybody, just like they borrowed ideas from everybody earlier on, and it's just a matter of kind of rehashing the stuff different ways, but the thing is, a lot of the bands that we grew up with won't be around any longer. So if the newer bands sound like those bands or remind you of those bands, that helps to keep the music going for future generations,
Yeah. And really, when you think back about it, so you think back to the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, it was hard sometimes to hear a song on the radio and determine if that was Kicks or Danger or it was there at one point it was like the labels were going, you sound just like Dawkins, so we're gonna take you, and you sound just like, it's just, there was all of that crap going on. And they do that they do that they do that now, they do it now. There for a while there were 4 or 5 boy bands, and then there was all the Britney Spears and all those girls, but they're all the same. All that happens in music. And country music to me is vanilla city. If my son is actually an 80s rock fan, which he had good parenting. But he does like country music too. And when they turn it on in the car, I'm like, dude, this all sounds the same. And he's like, just your music all sounds the same too. So,
well, I'm going to tell you right now, there is 7 major notes in music.
Yeah, regardless
A,
of
B,
what
C,
you're playing.
D, E, F, G, and that's it. There's minors and majors and everything, but so at some point, every combination of those notes is going to be done.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yep. Just a matter of how fast you're playing it and how slow.
Yep. Hey, we did talk about something. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump.
There was a time, several years ago that there were some country bands coming out, and I was like, this is nothing but tamed down, rehashed 80s stuff. I mean, to me, a lot of the country music reminded me of like Bon Jovi type music. And I was like, okay, well, country's definitely gotten a little more rock and roll. But now I'm hearing country that's you crossing over into like rap and hip hop kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, that's just weird. And it's weird how, it evolves and, but I don't really care for that kind of stuff. It's like you said, all the bands sound alike. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of the problem in the 80s that but you know what? That's just like TV shows. You have one cop show on TV. Well, then you got 5 cop shows on TV. You have one hospital show or doctor show on TV, and you've got 5 more. Everybody just caters to whatever's popular at the time. And if you have one good one, we're going to have 10 more just like it. It's I don't know. That's just the way society is, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's circle back around to your record label and tell the audience how you can find Squib Kick Records online.
All right. Well, you can go to www.squibkickrecords.com. You can find Squib Kick Records on Facebook. We have an Instagram account. You can find us on Twitter. Let me see. You can look on any of the places if you were interested in any of our bands. You can find us on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel. And then, but you can find any of our bands, on Spotify, Apple Music, CD Baby, any of those type of places, wherever you download and stream music.
Now, when I put this up on our webpage, I'll make sure that I put the link to Squib Kick Records on this particular episode's page.
Okay. That'd be great.
Now we're going to talk about the dirt.
All right.
The dirty dirt.
The dirt.
Okay, let me give y'all my wife's review really quickly.
I saw butts.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
That was the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Really? Wasn't that bad?
She didn't even help. She didn't even give it a little bit of a nice.
Nope. At one point, she finally just got to the point where she had her iPad up, and when she'd see somebody on the screen, she'd look up who they were just to see what she could figure out about them.
Wow.
What were your thoughts about it?
I liked it. I mean, let me go back. I liked it, but it wasn't a great movie, if that makes any sense. I thought the movie was okay. I like the storyline, of course, because I read the book. I read the book 3 different times over the course of however many years it's been out. And it's a fun read, and it's fun to go back and see the whole story of Mötley Crüe and all the crazy stories. And I enjoyed the movie for what it was about. It was about them kind of getting started and all the wildness that they went through. I enjoyed that part of it. Did I think the acting was that good? Not really. The one character, the guy that played Mick Mars, is in Game of Thrones, and I love Game of Thrones. And when I saw him, I actually went back and watched Game of Thrones because of seeing him in it again. So, but I don't think the acting was that great. But as far as the story, the story about the band was pretty good. I felt like the movie was a little short. It didn't, I almost think they could have made a series out of it and taken little excerpts. Okay, here they are from 81 to 83, and here they are from, 84 to 87. You could actually make the storyline a little longer and kind of go more in depth about what went on. And, you might have 5 or 6 episodes to fill out their whole career.
I was thinking you could do a season based on the Too Fast for Love album, then the Shout at the Devil album, then,
Sure.
they could do so much with that.
Well, and I read the book too, and like you said, there is so much information and stories in that book. It's hard to slam it into an hour and 45-minute, 2-hour show. I mean, it's just almost impossible. I mean, you're going to be skipping and doing a little bit here and there on different stuff. I tell you what, though, I was so happy that they included that Ozzy story, because that was my favorite story from the whole book. And I mean, not only did they added it, I mean, it was pretty, it was pretty graphic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was like,
it was gross.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, yes. And that's what, when you read the book, you're like going, oh my God. Well,
Exactly.
I'd like to seen that. Well, they actually showed us. I mean, they showed the whole thing. I'm like you. I was kind of a little bit. I don't watch. My wife watches Game of Thrones, and I'm surprised that she didn't mention that. But yeah, I thought Vince's character, especially with his daughter Skylar. I mean, I know that was a very tough time in his life. I just thought it was just bad acting. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was over, kind of done. But I mean, other than that, it was very entertaining. And I'm one of those guys. I like the Def Leppard show that they put out. What VH1 did a few movies. They did a few years back.
Right. Yeah.
And of course it's cheesy. It's kind of silly. But you know what? Back in those days, they were cheesy and they were kind of silly. I mean, it was the whole thing is that was the age. I mean, that was kind of the stuff that was going on. And like I said, you had to throw together a shitload of information that you had to put out in 2 hours. I think they did a good job. And I like the way that they told it from different angles. It would be kind of from Nikki's perspective. Then it'd be from Tommy's perspective, and it would flip flop back. And that talking to the screen stuff doesn't bother me. I think that's kind of cool.
I always think that's funny.
It is, and it's funny.
That never really happened.
And then people are like going, "Oh, I mean, he had that crash in a Pantera, not a Corvette." It's like, going, "Are you really? Are you going to get that fucking, seriously?"
Yeah.
Well, the budget for the movie was not the cost of a Pantera.
I can tell you that much. You can't find a 73 Pantera to crash right now. But anyway, no, it's one of those things where it's just, I thought it was well done. I think people that don't like it are nitpicking. I mean, it's fun entertainment. That's what it's supposed to be.
Well,
to me, that's what it was. It was supposed to be, was fun entertainment. I mean, showing the highlights. Basically, they kind of touched on all the highlights of the book, and then it did exactly what the music did in the '80s. It kept you entertained. It was fun, and it's nice to go back and remember, that era and hear all the different music and see all the different clothes and the whole nostalgia type thing.
Right.
I did like that part of it. I think with just the only thing that really disappointed me was I didn't think the acting was that great, and I think it went too fast. That was my two biggest complaints.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I didn't think it was a bad movie. I mean, I watched it by myself, but I didn't think it was a bad movie at all, really. I mean, it was entertaining. I just thought there are parts of it where like, okay, that's not really true. I mean, they were talking about Doc McGee, and he made a comment, when they were first getting together, that they'd already, that he had managed Kiss and stuff like that. I was like, no, dude, that was like 10 years after you left Mötley Crüe. That wasn't even like any
right.
I mean, so there was some of that stuff. I was kind of like, okay. It seemed like there were a couple times there were like that was name dropping and stuff like that, and I was like, really, I didn't get that piece. And I thought it was very funny that for Nikki Sixx, who has a tendency to like to bash every band that they feel ever stole anything from them, there were about 4 or 5 Kiss references in there that I thought were pretty interesting. Anyway, but
whatever suits him at that point.
Well, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I didn't think it was bad, and the acting was the acting. I expected to get what I got. I didn't, and I probably because I had read a couple of reviews before I watched it, but it wasn't bad. Will I watch it again? Probably not. But I tell you what, I couldn't read the book because the book jumped around, You know, it was, if I remember right, the part I read was, you know, you got Tommy, and then about 5 pages later, you got, you know, Mick Mars' version, and 5 pages later, you got, I couldn't do it. I was like,
that's kind of the way it was written. It was kind of
It's a schizophrenic book that is written with a bunch of 3-year-olds. I was like, nope, I can't do it. I didn't read. I mean, I read the first chapter and tossed it. That was it.
Well, here, can somebody answer this question? Who was the chubby dude that was a guitar player that they kicked out?
That wasn't true.
I don't know.
That wasn't the guy.
I don't think so. I saw something online the other day about fact and fiction with the dirt, and that was a fact. That was a fiction.
That guy was not a real guy, and he was.
I don't think that was a real guy.
Okay.
I think that's what it said, that he wasn't a real guy.
He was a chubby dude with bad hair.
They all had bad hair, dude.
And he couldn't play.
You know, I went into the movie knowing that.
Oh, he was going to suck.
No, I'm not even going to say that. I went into the movie knowing that there was no way that they could cover everything that was in the dirt in an hour and 47 minutes. So my take on the movie before I even turned Netflix on was, this is going to be an hour and 47 minutes of a movie about an 80s hair band and the life that they led, the shenanigans that went on, you know, and it's loosely going to be based on Mötley Crüe. Right. So I took that for what it was, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching that movie and the 900 pairs of titties that I saw in there.
You know, and that was the same thing. I did the same thing. I went in with I have no expectations. I have actually less than expectations for this movie. So anything that I get out of it's going to be good, and it was good. I mean, it wasn't Bohemian Rhapsody, but it was a good movie. I had a good time.
Didn't have the budget either.
but I'm like Alan. I saw more titties and some stuff in this movie than I did in the Queen movie. So
I wouldn't want to see what was in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I don't think
we'll
you
leave
wouldn't
it
have
at
seen
that.
the same thing.
Yeah, okay,
that's for sure.
But I guarantee you that this will probably definitely regenerate, just like it did with Queen. I guarantee that it'll probably regenerate some interest in Mötley Crüe's catalog. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't go on tour again and cancel that whole contract thing that they did just to, to cash in again.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's $1 million fine, and if they're going to make $9 million on a tour, that means they are only going to make $8 million. So, okay, $8 million. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's been, like I said, it's been the number one thing on Netflix. It's getting good reviews, and it is what it is. And like I said, but people are starving for shit like that. They can make movies about all. Why don't they make a Kiss movie? I think a movie just like that about Kiss.
They can't make a Kiss movie because Gene and Paul will be too much involved in it, and it'll get all jacked up, and it'll be a mess.
They could run it up to the point where Peter leaves, and that would be the movie. It would be a great movie.
Yeah, would be.
But it'd be like a 4-hour. It'd be a mini series. It'd have to be.
Yeah, they would have to do it that way with Kiss for the amount of time they've been around.
Yeah, it'd be.
Well, it'd be an album every 15 minutes, right? I mean, because those first 6 years, an album about every hour. Okay. Richard, man, thanks for spending some time with us tonight. Yeah, I really appreciate it, man.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on the show. It was nice meeting y'all.
Yeah, nice meeting you too.
Cool.
Hopefully, we'll run into each other and have a beer or something at some point.
Sounds good.
Here's some more beer. We like beer.
No,
I like beer too.
And we like to hear some more music from your studio. So anything you got coming out of there, let us know, and we'll put it on our website. Also, we can put it on our Facebook page and share it with everybody.
Dennis can put it on Twitter, but he don't know how to use it.
I can't.
If you guys don't mind, when I get some stuff, I'll definitely send it your way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Love new music. Love new music.
Yep. All right, Alan, take us out of here, man. Hang on a second, Richard.
All right, folks, check us out at agesofrock.com. You'll find all of our social media there and our Stitcher Radio link. All of that good stuff next week. See you then. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.